Okay, so let's dive in. What was Jesus doing in those mysterious 3 days, between the crucifixion and the resurrection?
Right. It's a question that, well, it fascinates a lot of people. And today, we're looking really closely at one specific perspective on it.
We're focusing on a particular source, aren't we?
Exactly. We're using excerpts from a YouTube video transcript. It's by Maritz of DLM Christian Lifestyle. Our whole mission here is just to unpack his view based on the Bible verses he points to.
Got it. So not trying to solve it definitively for everyone, but exploring this interpretation. And this source, it suggests a kind of surprising itinerary for Jesus during that time.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. It's not just a quiet waiting period. We're talking about two main locations Jesus reportedly visited and, well, the beings he met there.
And you mentioned one location is maybe unexpected?
Definitely unexpected for some. We'll get to that. But the foundation for all this, according to the source, is the idea that Jesus' body and spirit separated at death.
Okay, separation. Where does the source see that in the text?
The key reference pointed to is John 19:30. Jesus says, "It is finished." That's telestai in Greek, right? Huh? And then the text says he gave up his spirit.
Gave up his spirit. So a literal separation.
That's the interpretation, yes. Right. That specific moment is crucial for the timeline the source lays out. His spirit departs.
Right, and his body. What happens to the physical body in this view?
Well, the source points to the very next verses, John 19:41-42. It details the burial Jewish customs, a new tomb in a garden.
Okay, standard burial procedure.
Exactly. And the key point the source emphasizes is his body stayed there, in the tomb, without the spirit, for those 3 days.
Body in the tomb, spirit elsewhere. So where did the spirit go first?
Right. So with that separation established, the first location the source identifies is paradise.
Paradise, like with God.
Yes. And this comes directly from Jesus' own words to the thief on the cross in Luke 23:43. Remember, truly I say to you today, you will be with me in paradise.
Okay. So Jesus goes straight to paradise, taking the thief with him, spiritually speaking.
That's the idea. The source sees this as Jesus returning immediately to the Father's presence. Where he was from the beginning. His time on earth was like a specific mission, now completed.
A return home, in a sense. Makes sense. That seems comforting, maybe?
It is. That's the first stop, and maybe the one people find easier to accept. But then the source introduces the second location.
The unexpected one.
Exactly. A place described as the pit, or a prison holding spirits.
A prison. Okay, that is different. Where does that come from?
This is where it gets, as you said, more intense. The primary text here is 1 Peter 3, specifically verses 18 and 19.
Okay, 1 Peter 3, what does it say?
It says, Christ suffered for sins, was put to death in the flesh, but made alive in the spirit. And then verse 19, in which he went and proclaimed to the spirits in prison.
Proclaimed to spirits in prison. Wow. Okay, so who are these spirits? Are they like human souls waiting for judgment?
That's the natural question, isn't it? But the source argues, no, these probably weren't human souls. The interpretation here leans towards them being fallen angels, evil spirits.
Fallen angels? How does the source support that reading?
Well, it brings in other verses, like Hebrews 1:14, which calls angels ministering spirits, and Matthew 12, talking about unclean spirits. Mm-hmm. The argument is that spirit here refers to these non-human entities.
Okay, so using the term spirits consistently across these passages to mean angelic or demonic beings, not human souls.
That's the connection being made, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it leads to a really specific identification of which fallen angels these were.
Oh, there's a specific group.
According to this source, yes. It connects these imprisoned spirits directly to the sons of God from Genesis 6:4.
Genesis 6. Wait, those are the ones who came into the daughters of men? The ones connected to the Nephilim?
Exactly those ones. The source argues these were specific fallen angels who seriously overstepped divine boundaries. They interfered with humanity in a forbidden way.
Whoa. So not just general demonic spirits, but this particular group involved in that ancient event. That's quite specific.
It is. And the source goes further, suggesting these angels didn't just disobey, they actively corrupted things, leading to the Nephilim.
And the claim is, Jesus himself put them in this prison.
That's the assertion. That Jesus, in his pre-incarnate divinity, being God, had the authority and power to bind these specific angels.
Before he was even born as a human.
Yes. The source points to Jude verse 6 here. It talks about angels who did not stay within their own position of authority and are now kept in eternal chains under gloomy darkness.
Wow. So Jesus dealt with this specific angelic rebellion before his earthly ministry and then visited them after his death.
That's the picture this source paints. It emphasizes Christ's pre-existent power and authority over all spiritual forces.
Okay, that adds quite a layer. Does this source connect this to anything else in the Gospels?
It does, actually. Think about the story of Legion, the man full of demons, in Luke chapter 8.
The pigs.
Right. Remember what the demons begged Jesus not to do?
Send them away, send them into the abyss.
Exactly. They begged him not to send them to the abyss. The source suggests they knew who Jesus was and knew he had the power to send them to a place like, or perhaps the same as, this prison. They feared that abyss.
Because they knew he'd already imprisoned other powerful spirits there.
That's the implication drawn by the source. Their fear stemmed from recognizing his authority, an authority he'd apparently exercised before.
Okay, so Jesus visits paradise. Check. Then he takes this detour to this prison, this abyss, holding these specific fallen Genesis 6 angels.
According to the source, yes.
But why? Why go there? Just to look around?
No, not at all. The source is very clear on the purpose. Jesus went there to proclaim something.
Proclaim what?
His victory, his triumph over sin, death, and the devil's works. It cites 1 John 3:8 here. The reason the Son of God appeared was to destroy the works of the devil.
So it was an announcement, a declaration to them.
A declaration of cosmic victory, yes, telling these incredibly powerful rebellious beings that their leader, Satan, and all his works were ultimately defeated by what Jesus just accomplished on the cross.
So it wasn't just about saving humans, it was about declaring victory in the spiritual realm too, to the enemy itself.
Precisely. Informing them their defeat was now absolute. Done. Finished. Which, the source notes, is why you see references to great wrath later in Revelation. They know their time is short and their doom is sealed.
They know they've lost. That makes sense of the wrath, but
right.
Does the source say they stay locked up forever?
Well, here's another potentially controversial point from the source. It suggests some of these same spirits might be temporarily released during the future tribulation period.
Released? Why on earth would that happen?
It sounds counterintuitive, right? But the justification offered is that their release serves as a final, terrible warning to humanity.
A warning?
By showing people the true, horrifying nature of the evil they might choose to align with. It's like
that.
God allowing humanity to see the unfiltered darkness, the alternative to him, before final judgment. A stark choice presented.
Wow. Letting them see the monsters so they choose the light. That's a heavy concept.
It is. The source frames it as part of God's ultimate plan, making the choice absolutely clear, even referencing Matthew 25:41 about the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. Their final end is still certain.
Okay, and this whole episode, these imprisoned spirits, how does the source tie it back to the bigger Bible story, like the Garden of Eden?
Great question. It connects it right back to Genesis 3:15. The prophecy about the conflict between the seed of the woman, that's the line leading to the Messiah, and the seed of the serpent.
Right, the ultimate battle between good and evil.
Exactly. The source views the actions of these Genesis 6 angels as a major early move by the seed of the serpent, an attempt to corrupt humanity, to pollute the human line, basically to stop the Messiah from ever being born.
So this wasn't just random rebellion, it was a strategic attack in that cosmic war.
That's the perspective, a constant effort by these evil forces to prevent God's plan, which continued right up to trying to kill Jesus.
And yet even their attempts to kill him, like Satan influencing Judas.
The source argues they ended up playing right into God's hands, fulfilling prophecy without realizing it, a complete miscalculation on their part.
So Jesus' visit to the pit wasn't just an announcement, it was like the ultimate checkmate declaration in that long war.
That's a perfect way to summarize the source's conclusion. It was Jesus definitively stating his victory over all those forces and destroying the devil's work right in the face of some of his most powerful ancient agents.
Okay, let's recap the source's view then. In those 3 days, Jesus' spirit wasn't just resting, it went 2 places.
Right. First, paradise. Immediately back to the Father's presence. Comforting.
And second, this far more intense visit to the pit, a prison holding specific fallen angels from Genesis 6.
Where he didn't go to suffer, but to proclaim, to announce his total victory over them and the entire project of evil they represented.
So the big takeaways from this source are, the body-spirit separation is key. Paradise was immediate, and this proclamation in the pit was a major event, a cosmic declaration.
Exactly. It emphasizes the scope of Christ's victory, not just for humanity's sins, but a decisive win in the unseen spiritual war against foundational evil forces, according to this interpretation.
It definitely gives you a different lens to look through when thinking about those 3 days. It's a much more active picture than maybe many assume.
It really is. It paints a picture of immense power and authority being exercised even between death and resurrection.
So a final thought for you listening. If you consider this perspective, this idea of Jesus actively confronting and declaring victory over these ancient, imprisoned spiritual powers, how does that maybe shift your understanding?
Yeah, how does it change how you view the spiritual battle mentioned in the Bible or the ultimate triumph of good?
Definitely something to think about. Maybe go back and reread those passages like 1 Peter 3, Genesis 6, and Jude with this framework in mind. Lots to mull over there.